Okay, if we can have everyone's attention, I'd like to introduce our panelists. Tonight we have Professor Mark Meckler. He's one of our management professors here at the Tamplin School of Business. And we also have Rob Coppich. He's the Vice President for Corporate Business Development for Cambia Health Solutions, one of the larger companies in town, Portland, tonight. And they're going to talk about entrepreneurship and innovation management as a major and as a practitioner in the field. So please give your attention and welcome Mark and Rob. Hey. Hey folks, you are, so I'm told, going to learn about a little tonight what the majoring in entrepreneurship and innovation management might be like, and what's interesting about it, and what kind of career path things that might involve. And I'm one of the faculty members in that department. I'm actually the chair of the department, so I'm supposed to know what I'm talking about. Essentially what we do at the University of Portland is we focused on entrepreneurship for a long time and tried to become experts at it. And I think, frankly, years before any of you got here, we'd talk about being a school that was very good at entrepreneurship and had an expertise in it. And I think that we did more talking than walking. And over time, we built up in an entrepreneurial way. We talked about doing it, and now we actually have 3, 4, 5 faculty members that are all focused on entrepreneurship, an entrepreneurship center, all kinds of things. So the resources here for entrepreneurship actually, at this point, they're probably better than what we talked about. So we have a broadly focused entrepreneurship program here, and we have a number of options of what to do with it. In the actual major, we once had a management major, and we no longer do that. Now we focus on entrepreneurship and innovation in that major. So if you're interested in that, we drill down on that really hard. Okay, let me tell you some of the things that we do. Some things you might have heard about is kind of being an e-scholar. And an e-scholar is kind of a specialized program for non-EIM majors and not necessarily for business majors. It's something for people who are interested in entrepreneurship, want to have some experience in it, and are majoring in something else outside the school of business, most likely. However, if you're inside the school of business, it might be something you're interested in as well. So any undergraduate can be in that, and that's kind of to explore entrepreneurship as a career option. It's an exploratory kind of thing. We have a EIM, Entrepreneurship and Innovation Management minor, and that's something that might be very broadly attractive to a lot of people. Because if you are in just about any other major, one in the university, it's a way to be able to have get a good business background, get into the nuts and bolts of running a business, and still be a major in history or biology or something like that. Now, for those of you in the School of Business, if you're not an entrepreneurship and innovation management major, if you're a marketing major, you're a finance major, or you're an accounting major, or you're an operations management major, the entrepreneurship minor is going to give you a head start on, well, how would I kind of create a new business? How do I create a business model? How do I run and actually operate a business and get it started up so it doesn't fail right away? Those are the kinds of things that we do in the major, and give you a taste of that. And then we've got a major for innovation and entrepreneurship, and that's really to prepare people in a kind of, I'd say, really strict way to design a business, put together a business model, figure out how to get funding for that business, and then how to get it started without failing for the first couple of years. Actually, how to run it from the beginning. We go into all those phases, and it's pretty intense. We try to get the strongest students in there. It's a rigorous program. All of our classes, I feel, are pretty darn rigorous. They're interesting, they're interactive with faculty members, Many things are case-based, a lot of things you are creating your own something or other, and we're going to really push on you to create something that's real and not something that's a fantasy. Many of the students' projects that we do, they end up building toward entering it into a business plan competition and seeing if you can win some money and get some funding for it. We've got one right here at the university. We've got this 100,000 K challenge, and it's changed the name slightly. And you can enter it, we lead projects to enter into those. So by the time you're a senior, you will have worked on it. Junior year, first semester, you'll have designed it. Second semester and beginning of senior year, you'll figure out how to get funding for it and get out the details. Springtime senior year, you'll be in a competition, presenting it in front of others, trying to actually get funding, and going through my strategic controls class of how do you really run the business and still keep innovative and growing. So we've got kind of a process in place here, and that's what the major does. And for those of you who are interested in kind of a holistic view of running a whole business and starting the whole thing rather than a particular expertise in finance or in accounting or one of the functions, that's what the major's all about. Personally, I think that maybe I connect with this because I went through all my schooling with no debt by being an entrepreneur. I've owned 2 companies, most of them small. One of them failed. One of them I just closed down when I finished my doctoral degree. And you can't be, there's nothing better than being able to run your own business and make a bunch of money when you need to. And it's a specialized skill. It takes a lot of effort, and it's very rewarding. I can remember, actually I own 3 businesses. 2 in my graduate program, I remember sitting in class and thinking with my partner next to me in another class, and thinking, you know, our business is running pretty well. And he said, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, every hour that goes by is another $10 in our pocket. Because we'd make, it just not even being one. And so I got out of my MBA program debt-free. I got out of my doctoral program debt-free, running a catering company. And it's something that I'm kind of passionate about. Anyway, that's the nuts and bolts of it.
Great. Hi there. I'm Rob Coppage. I don't have a doctorate degree, and I didn't come out of school debt-free, so I have to keep working. But I am happy to be here. I work for a company here in Portland. It's a health insurance business, but I don't practice health insurance. I lead a venture capital group that's inside of that big company, focused on investing in early-stage, innovative healthcare companies. And I've been investing in early-stage healthcare companies for 15, 17 years now, since I was a junior at Georgetown. And I came into that profession with absolutely no right to be in it. I was a socialist in college, and who was moving from jobs in affirmative action to HUD to the Czech embassy. And I realized somewhere along the way, to the point of coming out of school with a lot of debt, that I needed to make some money, and not like just to pay my debt down, but because I needed to buy groceries. And so I said, well, I need to find a job somewhere that will pay me, not just one that I feel good about doing. So I took a job in the file room of a finance group that was starting. And I didn't know what they did. People say, well, what does your firm do? I said, well, they sell money to people. I have no idea. And I just filed things for a while. And right place at the right time. I ended up having the chance to intern with that company, and then as they were growing, I ended up spending the first 13 years of my career going from being an intern in the basement to a partner there, and investing through the entire life cycle of 3 funds there before I left in 2008 to move out to Seattle. Also had no right to be in that business because I majored in history, and actually was vehemently against business education when I was in college. I actually joined the academic council of the College of Arts and Sciences to oppose any effort to get a business minor in the college. Yeah, stupid me, because I then had no idea what I was doing in my job because of it. I had to spend 5 years faking the things you guys are going to learn, you know, probably in your first year here. So lucky you. I did have to go then and get what's called a CFA, a Chartered Financial Analyst designation after I got out of undergrad, but I decided I didn't want to go spend the time to get a graduate degree in business. It costs a lot of money, take a lot of time. So I did something, it was a professional designation that was kind of hard to get at the time. Hard for me because I didn't have any skills, but hard for other people too. And as a young person, that really helped me be able to have some credibility when I went out and have meetings. But really, the business that I'm in is one that for folks who have sort of the curiosity you have to be in a school like this, it's a wonderful job to have. I spend my days talking to entrepreneurs, solving business problems with them, and one day is never the same as the next. One day, the CEO is quitting because his wife's leaving him. The next day, another company has having a sales problem. The next day, the other company has an offer to be sold. It's always something, and usually it's something around the holidays or on the weekends or at 2 in the morning. But it's the challenges are so diverse and so multifaceted that if you have the sort of mind that you need to have to be here and to sort of succeed at a good liberal arts school like this, it's a wonderful job to have and sort of continue to have a learning curve that's as steep as the one you have right now. I specialized early, so by no intention of my own, I specialized in healthcare because that's what the firm I was filing for did. And luckily, it happened to be a really interesting field to specialize in. And I'd be happy to talk more about healthcare if you have any questions about that as a sector specialty. But more broadly, I'd say that you hear these buzzwords thrown around about this is entrepreneurship, and this is about the innovation economy, and these things are disruptive. And those are buzzwords. Yet for people who actually practice them, there are a few people who actually live those words, and I think it's a big difference. If you look, what I challenge you to do is you think about where you go with your academic focus. If you think this is a program that you want to do, when you close your eyes and you think about what an entrepreneur is, if you see the guy in the hoodie, who's selling an aspirational notion in vaporware, and that's what you want to do is go build something and flip it quickly, I hope you're also lucky, right? If you have a belief that you can build a wonderful company and change the world by doing some small thing very, very differently, and you're passionate about that, doing that one thing, but doing it big, and you don't mind if you do that for the next 10 years of your life or 20 years of your life, but you'd be okay if you sold it too. And you actually don't mind wearing a suit to meetings every now and then because you have clients that expect it. Then I'd say then maybe that's a more realistic view of what entrepreneurs need to have, innovators need to have. It's not just a fun club to be in, it's actually a lot of hard work. And you go out and you meet entrepreneurs, and I have the privilege, but also sometimes a challenge of having to deal with them all the time. They aren't always the most agreeable, nice people you've ever met in your life. Most of them, they're so tirelessly focused on this one goal that they have, that they don't let a lot of things get in their way, whether it's sleep or family or friends or a lot of other things. And if you go that path, I challenge you to really make sure you have balance in your life too, because that's one thing that a lot of us don't have. But that's the kind of competitive streak you have to have and focus you have to be successful there. It's not just a fun club and you get to go on TV and talk about your crazy tech venture, but it's about really a lifestyle that you're in. And so that's something that you're going to hear about here and you'll experience here by talking to other entrepreneurs and folks who are in the business. But you won't know until you actually move your house, and that's that step where of belief. It's the saying of Pascal that reason leads you up to faith, but not into faith. I think it's true for entrepreneurs too. It's a rational process to get to that jumping off place for starting your business. There's something completely irrational about the passion and faith you have to have in your own abilities to get there. So I'm really more than happy to answer any question about venture capital, or about entrepreneurs, or about most anything that you have questions about this evening, but I'm just pleased to be with you.
Okay, great. This is the time now for questions and answers, so please, if you want to ask a question, raise your hand, and the people at the table will help.
We'll try it.
That's right.
We'll try. Who's a risk taker in here? Up high. Okay, so who's not a risk taker in here? Okay. Okay. So for the risk takers in here, have you ever started your own, have you ever started a business or sold something to someone else, or tried to sell something to another person? You have. What did you sell? Cakes. You bake it yourself? You make money doing it? Okay. You do it now? Good for you. Anybody else? Sold something to someone else? Yeah.
I have a nonprofit for testicular and prostate cancer.
Stand up. I couldn't hear you.
A nonprofit for what?
Nonprofit for testicular cancer research. Running.
Oh, good for you.
Running right now.
I don't really make money off of it, but we do make money. So.
But you guys sell it though, right?
Yeah.
You enjoy selling things?
Yeah. It's fun. Interesting.
It's hard too, huh?
Yeah. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, how about the cakes? Is it a lot of work? That's good. You know, I was a chef before I was a professor, by the way. And that's why I ended up being good at starting a catering company. And the key here is that it's always a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and you got to be really good at what you do. Are you really good at making cakes? That's what people tell you. Yeah, it takes being really good at what you do and knowing how to do something really well. And then that feeling you get when you sell it to somebody and they bite your cake, or you take care of somebody with cancer, if that feels really, really good, and you say, that felt good, just because I know they love my cake so much, that then you're going to go do it again. And then they pay you too.
Who's thinking about EIM as a major, Entrepreneurship Innovation Management as a major? What questions do you have about that? You know, in the background.
I was thinking about it.
What's that?
I was just saying I was thinking about it.
Okay. This is your time to ask those questions.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a great question. There are so many.
I'll start with one. For me, it was all the people who said, don't do it. It was getting past not listening to people who I knew and trusted that said, are you sure you want to do that, or why don't you just go get a regular job, or that kind of thing. And it was getting past that, because it's hard to not to give into peer pressure. That's really hard.
Yeah, I'd say from the challenge I see, or the mistake I see a lot of young entrepreneurs make is a lack of focus. And so they try to solve too many problems all at once, and they get dispersed in their efforts. So I think it sounds easy when you say focus. When you actually try to do that when you're starting a company, it's a lot harder.
You know what else is really hard? And at the same time, very pleasurable. It's the idea and all the inventing stuff and figuring out how I was going to do it. That was a lot of fun. And then comes the first actual, like, running the operation. It's really hard. It turns out it's a million details and it's so hard and you get exhausted, and that part was shocking. I was actually so shocked how hard it was to, like, put on a wedding, or we did things like that. It had to be big enough to pay, like, a big bill. And I can just remember the first time at the end of these party, and you work for about 3 weeks on something, you think, oh my God, this was hard. And I remember looking at my partner at the time, and we both said, never again, we're never doing this again, because it was so hard. And yet then we got paid and we said, oh my gosh, we're good at this. And people started calling us. And they were so happy, we said, well, we could do this again, huh? And that's how the business grew. You know, it was like make a little, sell a little. It definitely was like that, and it was really hard work. But it's funny, there was something really rewarding about it. Like when you sell the cake, Or the people said, that was a great party, how'd you do that? You know, how'd you pull it off? And then you go pay your bills and feel really good too. But actually the operations,
Yeah. What you find is there are a bunch of different kinds of entrepreneurs too, right? There are folks who have the ideas, there are folks who are good at sales, there are folks who are better at other parts of the process, and I think one of the big challenges, it's not the first challenge you face, but one of them along the path is figuring out how to give up, sort of cede some of the responsibility to others and say, it's my baby, but I'm not going to be really good at operations, so I'm going to let this guy do it instead. And we see a lot of companies fall apart at that place where the founding entrepreneurs can't see the control and can't sort of say, I'll let someone else have some of the spotlight here. That's always a big problem. Yeah?
You get a degree in entrepreneurship and innovation management, and then with that degree, are you capable of receiving a traditional job while you create your ideas, or are you stuck having to be sole entrepreneur? Are there competitions with that?
Mark, could you repeat that question a little bit?
yeah, the question was, let's say you major in EIM, Entrepreneurship and Innovation Management. Is that something where, like, if you're looking through the job ads or something like that, that it says, looking for an EIM major? That's probably pretty rare. And what you get is you'd have a nice, really good understanding of what customers are really looking for, what are really the core things about putting together a business, how not to throw your money away, how to sell, how to communicate. And those are absolutely critical skills. So those would be things like, for example, in that major, we'd sit down and talk to you over time and say, here's how you'll talk, things you'd want to talk about and brag about in an interview. You'd say, I understand the world of business. Now, as much as I can, still being an undergrad, I understand business really well. I understand marketing, I understand supply chains, I understand critical things about actually running an operation. And those are all very valuable things. And I think if you went to a program that was soft, you would have nothing to say, but that's not you.
Yeah, I mean, I have a strong point of view about how important the 4 years you guys are embarking on are, right? I don't get these 4 years again that you guys have. I think about this a lot because this is an incredible opportunity to invest in a wide range of knowledge. You're never going to get this chance to sort of be focused this way again. As much as you got to think about getting a job when you get out, please don't waste 4 years thinking about how you're going to get a job when you get out. Come see me and I'll help you get a job when you get out. If you use these 4 years to go and think about learning and being curious and not taking the classes that you think are going to look good on your resume, but take the classes that are going to interest you and that speak to your curiosity, because I would much rather hire a curious, well-rounded, analytical graduate with no experience than I would somebody who came out with a piece of paper saying that they took all the right classes to kind of speak to me. And I tell you what, just so you guys know, we have an internship program. We have a guy who came out of this program here who we brought in as an intern about 18 months ago. We hired him full time. Gotta tell you, and I don't say this just because I'm blowing smoke up your skirt, this guy is probably one of the best young venture capitalists I've ever worked with. I mean, he's a year into his job, but he would run circles around someone from Harvard or Princeton or Yale, Stanford Business School. I mean, this guy is just preternaturally good. It's because he's came out of a program like this and is really curious, and that's what I tell you to spend 4 years working on. And I feel passionately about that.
Some of you guys working on your resumes? Yeah, I know, because I see it coming around for the advising week now. And one of the things that I chat with people about when my advisors come in is finding a way not to waste the 4 years on things that you're supposed to do. Similar to what Rob was saying. I say, well, if you're building a resume, start with, what am I looking for? And it's usually one of the top lines on a resume anyway, kind of like your mission or your goal or what you're trying to do. Figure that out. What is it you really like? If you could figure that out, what is it you like? And it might be, for some people it's a skill. I really like to play the guitar, whatever it is. Or I really like accounting. Believe it or not, some people really like accounting. I really like accounting. I actually like it. It's like a little game. It's a challenge. It's a puzzle. I don't know how it happened, but I like it. If you could figure out something you like, and for other people it's an industry, you think, you know, I always like makeup, or I love shoes, or I'm really into fashion, or I like hair products, or, you know, I like basketball, or whatever it is. I love ukuleles. And whatever it is, you've got these things you really like. Whatever that is, so then you're in a, I had this talk with somebody a couple days ago, and they said, you know, I like kids' toys and products. I always really like toys. And I said, well, when you're taking your sociology class and you got to write a paper, why don't you write it about like kids' toys and social issues? And then when you're taking psychology, why don't you talk about, and you have to write a paper anyway, why not explore the industry from that angle? And then when you're taking your marketing class or the finance, but whatever, keep looking at toys or a couple industries you really like. By the time you're done here, 4 darn years of looking at something you love from all those angles and sit down in an interview with somebody because you want to work in toys, you're not just going to say, I really want to work in toys. They're going to say, well, what do you know about toys? And you're going to say, well, let me tell you. And you're going to tell them the theology of toys. You're going to tell them, you get the point? That you're drilling down and digging into the things you really love. If it's guitar playing, or theater, or music, or dance, all that opportunity is here all over the university. It doesn't just have to be in a business or marketing class where you're drilling down into thinking about the things that you love because that's what you want a job in. And plus, along the way, you'll discover, oh, maybe I really don't like toys that much, but you'll run to something else. That's one way to look at taking 4 whole years is an amazing opportunity of time that most people never get again, to actually just keep thinking about a few things and having some expertise. That's a big deal.
Yeah. And also to your question, sorry to just keep hammering on this one, but you got me thinking, entrepreneurship as a major doesn't mean that you have to, you graduate and then you got to go to the garage and start a company, right? I spent a lot of time talking to big corporate people. I've worked most of my career in companies that have less than 10 people in them and then have invested in companies that have less than 10 people in them when we invest in them. I'm now in a company that has 6,000 people in it. We sell stuff to people that have huge companies too. And so I spend much more time now around the suits that are out there, right? And so I'm talking to the suits. They tell me, the watchword is, we want a more entrepreneurial culture inside our big company, right? Well, how do you don't get there by taking the same people who are working inside your company for the past 100 years and making widgets or punching cards and telling them to be entrepreneurial. You get there by bringing new kinds of managers and executives in who have different ways of thinking about things, who are cross-trained, right? So I think there's going to be a need in the market. I wouldn't worry if you come out with this cross-training to get in a program like this and in a liberal arts school like this. You're going to speak to just kind of a sweet spot of what corporate America is going to need. So if you need a job, you get a job. But then you also have the ability to be proactive, and when you have the idea or you find the opportunity, then you're sort of you're that Navy SEAL that can go and get it done. That's a rare combination of talents and skills.
That isn't particularly adapt to entrepreneurship. I don't think I have a particular idea I want to sell. You encourage me to look at these colors or an entrepreneur and information management minor just to build myself as a better rounded business person.
Frankly, for a lot of people, I recommend the minor. Rob and I'm a business professor. And I was on the same side of the argument that maybe business isn't the thing for undergrads. I'd like to see undergrads take history and sociology and psychology and get a really good education and then go out and get an MBA and business. I used to say that. And now I realize, once I had to start running a business, I was thinking, ooh, I wish I knew all this stuff that I know now. And so you do have a really good opportunity. I really like the idea of even psychology major, entrepreneurship minor, finance major, entrepreneurship minor. I really like it as a minor because it rounds you out and gives you kind of a bigger view of things and looking at supply chains and looking at a bigger picture and still drilling down to a skill that you like. I'm kind of big on the entrepreneurship minor. We're going to have a lot of the engineering students taking the entrepreneurship minor as well. They're looking at it and saying, wow, that's absolutely perfect. And it's the kind of thing that's the business knowledge that's absolutely core. It's a good question. I'm a big fan of the minor.
So, question for you guys. When you think about an entrepreneurial company, which company comes to mind? It's just so I get your frame of reference on when we're talking about these words, using these words. What's the image that you get? Anybody want to be first? Yeah.
I was thinking Patagonia or something.
That's great. Yeah, I would. That's a great example. Others?
Apple.
Apple. So would you say Apple is still entrepreneurial? Why? So they're having new products that are coming out. Would anybody disagree that Apple's a huge company? It's the biggest market cap in the world, right? How can that be entrepreneurial? It's not two guys in a garage with a dog. Is there a counter position on that? Would anybody say Apple's not entrepreneurial? Yeah.
It's just because they're coming up with new ideas and new technologies to the same product. New ideas that are going on.
Right. So it's not just that there is a product company, but they're really they're changing the way people are consuming technology too.
Right, so they're innovative, plus they're diving. So it's one thing to be innovative, and they're definitely an innovative company, and then maybe they're also entrepreneurial. They're willing to dive into new markets, into new things that they haven't done before. I watched, seriously, last night, I watched a video of Steve Jobs talking about how don't do this, drop out of Reed College, don't drop out. But he said, I dropped out. He said, I'm going to tell you about 3 things from the Stanford graduation speech. And he says, one of the best things I ever did was drop out of Reed College. However, then he said, because what I did the next year and a half was drop in at Reed College. He stopped taking the classes that he was supposed to just take because it was his major. And he started going to classes he was interested in, and he talks in the speech about how he went to his calligraphy class, and he loved it. Right? He absolutely loved his calligraphy class, and then he said when he ended up founding Apple and designing the Mac, all the fonts, and he said the beauty of the machine and all the fonts that, back then computers didn't have like nice looking script and fonts, and he said we built it all right into the Mac. It was completely valuable. So what Rob was saying about, go take things you're really interested in and get a broad base. And then you'll see, because you have such active minds, that stuff is going to all come back and it'll make use of it. All right, so getting lockstepped into something because you're supposed to take it, that's not the entrepreneur's mind. The entrepreneur's mind is go seek and find and then mine things and figure out how, and put them to use later when the opportunity is there. Yeah. Questions? Yeah.
For people that are pursuing the entrepreneurship major, what minors would you recommend?
I don't know what's possible here, but it's the name.
Well, there's so many great minors. For us, I mean, if you were to come talk to Dr. Sebastian or Holloway or I, we're probably going to tell you go find the thing that you're absolutely most interested in. And for example, a lot of people come in and they start taking accounting, and I say, well, what is it you love? And they say, well, what were your hobbies? And I say, well, I was on the volleyball team in high school, or I used to be dance, or I used to do theater. And I'm like, well, for goodness sake, don't stop doing that. Are you nuts? So a lot of times when we do a lot of kind of this, frankly, the entrepreneurship major, we do a lot of creativity exercises and things like that. So it's not all kind of nuts and bolts. So you do get creativity training. However, I'd say for almost any business major, if you could do something else, keep doing the creative things that you love to do and the things that you find really fun, don't stop doing those. Keep doing them and keep your mind, both sides of your brain kind of well exercised. I'd say that's the best way to find the other thing that you're really interested in. And the university, frankly, I look at it at this point, it's like going to a restaurant with a big menu and all those classes, and a lot of those things should look delicious. And some of them should look like something you don't really want to eat because it's not your taste. However, look at that menu and think, wow, that looks like a great class. Poetry, wow. I took a poetry class here. I was terrible, by the way. I was like the worst one in the class, but I took it. And it helped. It helped. It was a great class.
Yeah, here's some unsolicited advice that no one asked for, and I'm probably not supposed to give you because I'm on stage here, but I tell you, the thing I walked away from my undergrad experience thinking about class selection and major selection and minor selection was that if I was to do it all over again, I would major in professors rather than majoring in subjects. There's professors that if they taught the phone book, I'd go to the class. And there's some folks who had the best course description in the world, and it's not going to be right up my alley, and I learned zero in that class but there's some professors that are just so good, and if you find them, latch on to them and take everything that they offer. I don't know who they are here, but I'm certain they're at least enough to fill three or four of your couple lifetimes of classes that you could have here. And be exacting about that. If you're in a class and you think, and you're testing it out the first couple of times and you feel like you're not getting that, go find the ones that are going to give you that kind of experience, because this is really a time you do not want to waste.
And it's always entrepreneurial. Right? Don't waste your time. Get the resources that you need. Find the people. By the way, I agree with that. And it's not going to be the same professor for all of you. No, it's going to. There are people. So there are folks who come up and they say, "You were the best professor at the university. I took everything you had," and other people go, "That guy's the worst." So it's going to be, it depends on. You'll find those people, and that's a really good way. Track them. Just get the most.
So who here thinks that entrepreneurship is kind of would be a waste of your time? Okay, why? It's risky? And so if it's risky, it's a waste of your time? Yeah. No, that's true. One thing we said earlier is that, we started 3 companies and one of them was a bust, right? That's not a bad track record, actually. I would have expected you'd say 2 of them were a bust. You look at the things we're investing in, and you would expect, if we're going to invest in 10 things, you're going to expect at least 3 to 5 of them to be dogs. If we get it to 3, that's a win for us. But you usually make your money in a portfolio like that on 1 or 2 things out of the 10. And so, yeah, it's really risky. I often talk about people being, they're either entrepreneurs at the company level or they're at the portfolio level, meaning they want to be dabbling in a lot of different things. And I think different kinds of people like different kinds of risks. Different kinds of risk. I like my risk at the portfolio level because I can have 15 different companies going at once, and it's always a different problem. But there's a diversity of experiences. Some folks just want to have the one audacious thing that they're doing, and they're waking up in the morning and focusing on it. But that's even riskier than what I'm doing, right? The entrepreneur in the company has much more risk than I do because I have diversification and they don't. So I mean, it's not. I think that's a rational statement that you made.
Yeah. On the other hand, here's the other side of the coin, of the risk coin. So you're going to go out at some point and get a job, so your parents hope, so you hope. And it'll happen. You'll feel like, oh, I'm never going to get the right job. But somehow, smart people end up rising to the top, and you end up getting a pretty good job. And then you end up working hard, because look at who you are. You're people going for a university degree. You are internally focused. You're people who feel like if you work hard, you can get it done. And you're going to end up working hard. If you're going to work that hard, you might as well make a bunch of money doing it. Do something big. You're not going to work any less hard by not doing something big. For example, that's what I know the difference between small business and big business. If you're running a small business, like actually 2 of my companies were small businesses, and those were actually the successes. The one that was supposed to go really big is the one that didn't make it. I didn't work any less hard in the small business. It's every day. You're working your tail off. And if you're going to work your you-know-what off every single day, you might as well figure out, and I wish I had learned, how do I make it scalable so that I'm not running one store, I'm running 50? How do I make it so that I can really grow this thing, because I'm not going to work any less hard at it? And that's kind of what entrepreneurship is about. I mean, at the very core, that's the difference. Yes, we'll teach you how to start a business and get a business model together and something that's going to generate cash flow and create a profit, but not to stop there, because it's so darn hard anyway, it might as well be, you're not thinking one store, you're thinking 7. And then once 7 are going well, it's like, how do I buy another 15? And now I'm running a chain. And I know people who've done that. And that's kind of the lesson. So the risk is, why waste my time working my tail off and not actually it going big without giving it a shot? So I feel like that's almost an equal risk of like wasting time.
Yeah, well, and I'd say even more than that. I travel a lot, right? So I get on the plane, I'm kind of plane twice a week. I get on the plane and I see a lot of schmucks who get on the plane and look really tired and carrying a big bag. And these guys are traveling around and they're getting paid. I mean, everybody on the plane is getting paid a salary, and everybody on that plane's got a job for the most part. But you can tell they aren't very happy in their job, and they aren't doing the things that they want to do. And they look kind of tired and worn out, and they're working hard because they're doing this. But they have no potential of the upside that you have, and the ability to sort of build something that you control, and that you envisioned, and that you and that you're painting, right? They have none of that. It's just a Willy Loman life for a lot of these guys, you know. And to me, that's a risk that if you have the entrepreneur's mindset, that would be that's the risk that's intolerable, right? It's tolerable to take, I'll lose my house, you know, on this business and I'll start again. Or, you know, or I won't see my friends for a year. I can handle that. I can't handle being really low and getting on the plane and carrying a file bag with me. And so there's that sense of it's your life, you have a limited amount of years and time to invest in it, and it's the question of, you know, what's the risk that's tolerable for you? How do you want to, at the end of your days, how do you want to think about the way you invested and spent your time? It's much more valuable than any amount of money you're going to make in any business that you have, because you can't get any of that back. So how do you want to spend that time? What do you want to create? And some people just cannot bear the thought of not building something. I mean, it's that. But it's always hard work. I guess that's kind of the punchline.
Yeah, I mean, that's the key is all jobs are hard. So you end up working your tail off, especially in America. We work hard. So you might as well do something you really want to do it for yourself and let it grow than just working hard and like, oh, it's 10 years later. Oh, that's the finish.
Okay, other questions? I'm going to try asking you questions again, so you should start asking us questions because it's easier this way. Is no one fascinated about investing in healthcare companies? Please.
So, if you are thinking about entrepreneurship and not completely sure that you want to go into it, but you start down that path, what would you say is the best indication that it's not the right path for you?
If you can't sleep much at all for a very long time. I mean, we'll have different, there are a lot of answers to this question. You could say, I'm going to put so much money at risk, and if my savings go down to this level, then that's my line. Or you could say, I'm going to give it this much time, and it doesn't take off. But I think those are all arbitrary lines, and you can always find a reason to extend them. I think it's more about your personality, right? And you'd say, because the answer always could be, you know, this is the wrong business, but the next one's going to be good, right? And so if your personality says that that's a challenge that you embrace and you irrationally kind of go after, then you know you found the fit. And if instead you just can't sleep and you're stressed out and you're not, it's not revving you up, but it's just kind of weighing you down, then you know it probably was an experiment that you tried, and instead you need to go and find a job that is different than that.
Yeah, and in school, there's going to, let's say you're in Biz 364, it's going to, beginning entrepreneurship class where we come up with ideas, that you don't feel, ooh, that was a cool idea, I'm kind of excited about that, that'll be the indicator that keep going. And if you feel like, oh, I'm not really excited about any of these ideas or anything I heard in the class, I'll do it, but I'm not excited about it, then it's probably not for you. So some people, it's funny, they just kind of get optimistic, they get really jazzed by like, ooh, that was a cool idea, let's do that. And you can see they're kind of they get energized by new ideas, and that's a good indicator that you kind of like it.
So for those who, is there anybody here who wants to invest in companies, who wants to invest in entrepreneurial companies rather than just go start them themselves? You do? Okay. So why do you want to do that? That's cool. What do they invest in? That's cool. Yeah. Happy to, if you have questions about that, happy to talk about that too. Anybody else interested in that kind of work? Or have you ever thought about it? Anybody ever thought about that before? Good. Great.
Yeah, for those of you who, school-wise, at least what we offer in school business, if that's something that you're really interested in, that kind of an expertise, finance and strategy. Finance and strategy classes are good for figuring out, putting together a portfolio, understanding finance, and being able to read balance sheets, and being able to look at the health of a company financially, and understanding strategically where one firm is at or another, or how the markets are acting. So the finance and strategy classes we offer here are really good. We're getting good at that.
I also say that if you're investing in early stage companies, a lot of the skills you need to pick up are soft skills too, because it's about people, right? And so some of that comes certainly through classes that I'm sure are offered in this concentration, but also, it's psychology and it's literature and it's history. Those kind of things where you see this is about looking at patterns and recognizing patterns. And the more you see historical patterns play themselves out, the more you realize that they're going to repeat themselves both in the way people act and behave and in the way that industry cycles move. We were talking earlier about things that were happening in the healthcare business 15 years ago that are happening again now, and folks are making the same mistakes they made 15 years ago stupidly, and they're going to lose a lot of money. And so I think those are, again, back to the nice cross-training you get here between finance classes and strategy classes, and then looking at sort of training yourself to be really curious and understand the softer things through looking at psychology and and history and the literature and other things like that, to train your mind in that way.
We have time for about one more question, and then we'll wrap it up for the evening. So, who wants to have the last?
Make it hard, please. Or don't. Okay.
Yeah, you did make it hard, because I don't have to list with you.
Make it up.
There are, let's see, you'll take Business 364, which is an innovation class. It's business model creation. So you'll look at creating ideas and thinking things through, and looking at new markets, and it's very creative class. It's an innovation class. Take that. You will take the next class after that. I forget the number of it, but it's in actually building the business together. After the idea, what is it actually going to look like? And product development class. And then I'm not sure what the third one is. There are three, and I know it's at least those two, and mostly because I know I teach one of them, and the other one I don't teach. And the first one, 364, is great. That's a great, fun class. And the next one, I'm not sure how much fun it is. However, I know that it's a very group-based class, and you get together with 3 or 4 people. We've weeded out all the ideas that probably aren't going to work, and then you pick the ones that look like, oh, this could be something that wins a business plan competition, and now you're really starting to work on it. So the minors get to do that also. And I'm not sure if the minors get to go all the way through and finish the project and go to the business plan competition or not. That's the thing I'm not sure about.
One thing I'll just tell you, I know the gong's gonna ring. I've got business cards here. If anyone's interested in healthcare, entrepreneurship, or venture investing, come get one and stay in touch with me. I know you're a freshman, got a lot of things to do between now and whenever you get out, but happy to talk about internships, happy to talk about the industry, happy to tell you what I think about what you're doing, and have you guys teach me something along the way too. So please don't be a stranger if you have interest in other areas.